Hi, welcome back. Sarah here. So let's do a tarot activity together today. Let me share with you a deck study I have been up to recently. So I've got a lot of decks in my collection, right? And there's no feasible way that I can really study with or read with all of them like at the same time, but I can try. What I can also try is to get to know a deck deeper and just get more intimate, get more familiar with it. So the deck that I've chosen to study is the Muse Tarot. So the Muse Tarot is a collage style deck. And there's just so many elements here, so many different things to look at, so much potential symbolism. And I feel that whenever I draw these cards in a reading, like this is what the cards kind of look like here. It'll look kind of like this. And then I'll be able to like do my interpreting, but I also feel like I want to spend more time getting to know it, getting more familiar with the images, with all the little details that were included in this deck. Also, there are some cards that I don't really understand or can make meaning of at first glance, kind of like this Temperance card. So I figured what better way to get familiar with this deck than to do a deck study. So this is how I've been doing the deck study so far. So this is not a consistent practice by any means. This is not something that I hold myself to doing like every day or even every week. It really is just whenever I feel like doing it. So what I've done is I literally just shuffle the whole deck and I draw like one card at a time. So let's say the Five of Inspiration was the first one that came up. This is the Five of Wands. I just journaled about what I thought of the card. I'm just looking at the symbolism. First, what do I think these things mean? And then I will look also at the guidebook to see if there's any more insight I can get from the creator here. And then I also got the World was my second card. So I just looked at this card and just wrote down what I think it means. I was really channeling like my inner like literature student, my literary analysis student, just trying to make meaning of all these things. So that really is just the whole point of this very casual, like easy to do deck study. Some pointers or some tips that I want to share. When I thought about doing deck studies last year, I had this idea that I was going to make like an entire guidebook for myself. I was going to really deep dive into every single detail. I was maybe going to do like deck interviews. I was going to compare all of the aces and then all the twos and all the threes. I can still do that if I wanted, but also the more important thing than just planning out the study is just to get started. I know that with some deck studies, like you could go through them like card by card in order. Like you could do all the major arcana first and then all the ace through tens and the page, knight, queen, king of a certain suit. But I'm so used to going through the fool's journey and through the progression of the suit that I felt like that kind of study would be very boring for me, be very predictable. So I really like the way that I've been doing it, which is literally me just shuffling and drawing cards from the deck and then writing about that card right away. I never know what card's going to come up and I don't have to worry about like comparing and contrasting like how it came before and after the other cards, so yeah, that's my deck study. I figured I would just try doing a few cards like on camera as well, and I invite you to grab your own journal, grab your own deck, or just grab a scrap piece of paper if you want, and you can do this deck study along with me. I've already filled out one page here, and I've already started like doing another 2 pages here. I just blocked out 2 for now. If I need more, I'll just block off more at the end of the book. There's like so many more pages for me to go through, right? Okay, so let's get started with our deck study for today. I'm going to write on this page since it seems blank and ready for the writing. All right, so I've done like maybe 24 cards so far, so I'm like about a third of the way through the deck, which is fantastic. Oh, and I also want to note that this deck study has been a great way for me to be connected with the tarot and to study tarot even more, because if I'm only doing readings with the tarot and trying to apply it to my current life, my current situation, honestly, like that kind of constant introspection and reflection can get really boring. So this has been a fun way of just interacting with and familiarizing with the tarot without having to apply it to myself at this time specifically. So yeah, okay. So let us see what cards are going to come up today. Let's just draw a random card. All right, so we've got the Knight of Inspiration, which is the Knight of Wands. All right, I'll talk through my thoughts out loud, and if you want to take a moment to just write down your own thoughts without listening to me, you can totally pause and feel free to do that. So here, the Knight of Inspirations, the Knight of Wands. I know that in this deck, the knights are all featured via horses. Horses do signify motion. I know that so far. There is big contrast between the dark singular color background and the bright orange floor here. It's like breaking through the darkness or being bold even if around you feels dark or something, even like shining your own light. So there's a lot of ideas that come to mind already, looking at the contrast of the background versus the foreground, not the foreground, but the floor ground here. Okay, I'll write that down too. Contrast, breaking through, breaking away from darkness, breaking through darkness. Okay, I see that the horse's mane is like made of fire here. There's a firework here. So I know that fireworks definitely represent like radiance, making a blast, making a boom, making an impact. There we go. Firework, making an impact for sure. What's one more thing I could write here? I will look at the guidebook. I've got a conflicted relationship with this guidebook. Erring on the side of meh, feeling average about it. I find that this guidebook can feel very new agey or abstract in a way that I don't always like, but I also respect that that is the creator's choice and the creator's work. So we've got the Night of Inspiration here. Fireworks and flying flames. Here's a description here. The Night of Inspiration is always seeking the thrill of it all, the joy, the happy tears, the adrenaline. She gallops toward adventure and the path that's most exhilarating. She listens to the pitter-patter of the rain and call of the wind, the grains of sand under her steps, and she shakes her wild mane and roars a giant flame to life. With enthusiasm and passion, she charges ahead. All right, that didn't give me much else to go off of. I'll just write mane on fire, feeling the passion, I guess. I was hoping for something more. I think if I could think about what hair symbolizes, I could have something to go off of there, but I can't think of that right now. So I'll just say feeling the passion. All right, so that is my card study of the Night of Inspiration, the Knight of Wands for the Muse Tarot. Very straightforward, very simple to do, right? Okay, so let's put that aside and let's do another one for fun. All right, we've got Justice. Okay, this card for sure, I know I pulled in the past and I was feeling like, what the heck, even if you want a chance to think about this card for yourself before listening to me babble about it, feel free to pause and journal about it for yourself. All right, so Major Arcana here, 11, Justice. Okay, so I see typical Justice imagery where it's kind of like weighing two different things, black and white, two maybe opposing concepts. Okay, I think that's pretty good to start off with. When it comes to like doing this kind of card study and this kind of like deeper diving into symbolism and art, it reminds me of that old meme or that old like discussion where it's like your English teacher is questioning you or asking you why the author chose to write that the curtains are blue. Like, could it mean depression or, I don't know, deep life longings? And maybe the curtains are just blue, right? I think it's valid if you don't want to engage with a work or with a card. Like, maybe the curtains really are just blue and there is no deeper symbolism. But it can be interesting and a good brain exercise to dive deeper into cards and to wonder why. Like, why did the creator choose this color palette? Why did the creator choose like this kind of flower? Maybe if you were to ask the creator yourself, like maybe Chris Ann would just say, I really just thought it was pretty. There's nothing deeper to think about it. Okay, that's valid. But also, it can still be a good brain exercise to make our own meaning from it, you know? Me trying to make meaning out of what I see here. It's not dependent on whether the creator themselves like intended that meaning or not. It's really just a brain exercise for me to create associations and meaning from this card for myself. But also that's why it makes kind of cards like this kind of challenging, because it's like I don't know what the creator intended, and I guess I'm just here to make meaning of it for myself, because ultimately I'm the one reading this card and reading this deck. Oh, I don't know. Okay, so we see kind of someone being birthed or, yeah, being born from their old self here. And I also see the brain being like opened up. So, okay, so brain opening up is what I see here. Brain opening, mind opening. And then I see that even the inner self being enlightened, like being brighter here, like this brain is also still opening. So I think there is always a journey of looking inward. There's always a search for answers, I feel like. That's kind of what this makes me think of. So inner brain being opened. And that's actually a really good analogy for justice. We tend to think of justice as being black or white. Fairness is just black or white. It's either fair or unfair. And sometimes that is the case. But in other times, justice and concepts of fairness are not just black or white. It's not all or nothing. It's not like someone is fully to blame and the other person is not. Or like there's a single correct answer for everything. So I think that this inner brain being opened represents that knowledge, or knowing that like the search for wisdom or answers or like the right answer is not concrete. Like you're always still searching. That's actually really fascinating. I have no idea what these flowers are here for. Okay, but I see this person here. So I associate these roads with like journeys, you know, like on a journey. This person being here on the light side versus the dark side, like the light makes me think of enlightenment. So I'm going to write figure on journey to clarity. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Figure on journey to clarity. I also see that this is the maybe moon. I actually cannot tell this is the moon or the sun behind this card, behind this figure. I'm going to write that it's the moon, and I'm going to write that it symbolizes like kind of confusion or unclarity right now. And we're going to look at the guidebook just a little bit to see if there's any more details that I want to write down. So this guidebook references this here as the gateway of justice. All right. There's nothing else from the guidebook that I feel like I want to write down. So that's all I got for the justice card. But wow, in these few minutes of me writing and actually taking the time to observe all of the imagery, I understood this card so much more. And I understood these artistic choices so much more. So dude, this is really cool. My brain is like feeling so scratched right now. Okay, I'm going to do one more card and then we can close out for the day. Let's see. We got the Four of Materials. Okay, Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles is usually an easy card for me to understand. We'll do green for the materials. And again, as usual, if you want a moment to look at the card for yourself before I babble, pause now or forever hold your peace. I could see how some people might feel like annoyed at cards like this because it feels like very model-esque. And I don't know, what can I say? I've just gotten used to this deck. Like, this is just the vibe of this deck, you know? I don't know, I can appreciate it. I don't have many decks that are like model-esque or a little dramatique like this, so I appreciate this deck for what it brings to my collection. So I'm noticing that there is this white outline right here, but then it actually covers the forehead and then it goes back down. It's an interesting artistic choice. Like, she could have put this line to be like over around like this head, right? So the fact that it's like cutting off the forehead, okay, maybe that means you're not thinking with your head. You're thinking like just with your body. I see a camel in the bottom corner here. So I know that camels symbolize like storage or like keeping things for a rainy day, keeping things until you really need them. I also want to say that like I don't consider myself an expert on a lot of symbolism. When it comes to like flower symbolism, for example, and a lot of animal symbolism, I actually just don't have much to go off of. If I weren't doing this on camera, I would totally just pull up like a website that says like symbolism for animals, like camel symbolism, rose symbolism. I don't even know this is a rose really, but you know, there's no shame in like using websites to help you. Like the point of this exercise isn't just to draw only from like yourself and your own knowledge, but you can still pull from websites to look at symbolism and meanings and stuff like that. Oh, like here's another example. The other day I was looking at pyramid symbolism because I had no idea what like these pyramids could symbolize in this Queen of Wands here. So when I looked it up, I was like, okay, pyramids can represent like the earth foundation at the bottom. The pointed top can represent like going towards higher consciousness. So yeah, so don't feel bad about yourself if you like can't write much or if you don't know much. Like that's just what websites are for anyway, right? Okay, back to this card. I see that this person is like sitting on these leaves rather than the leaves like being out and about here. So I'm also writing that down. Sitting on leaves, keeping them to self. Even the body posture looks very closed off. So body posture also closed off. Even the eyes are closed. So I think that goes back to my earlier idea of acting thinking based on body, not your head. Interestingly, this flower being so big up here, it makes me think that like the value of the items here is like really weighing on you. I'm gonna write that down too because that's what came to mind. Let's see, big flower at top. Materials weighing on you, maybe? All right, and one more time we'll look at the guidebook just to see if there's anything else I might want to write down. And like I mentioned, this guidebook is not one of my like favorite guidebooks. I think that it's very flowery and very poetic in a way that just doesn't really vibe with me, but I can still appreciate that this is what the creator brought to the table, and this is the way that she chose to express herself, right? So here's an example. She looks out at the camel below. It's saving its water, and she smiles, for she understands this beautiful beast and its desire to conserve for the future. So I can see how for like a beginner reader, this can be really frustrating to navigate because it's like, well, she's clearly not looking at the camel and you're just like making up a backstory for her. But for me, I'm not a beginner tarot reader. I consider myself intermediate. I've got some experience here. I can understand like the floweriness, the drama added to the guidebook here, you know. It's the Muse Tarot. It's definitely meant to be a work of art rather than just a literal tarot guidebook. Yeah, so there's nothing much there that I want to write down, but I'm pretty happy with what I was able to come up with. I also realized I accidentally skipped a line here. Oh well, mistakes happen. All right, so that was my deck study with the Muse Tarot with some cards as examples. Let me know how you liked it. I have been enjoying finding more tarot activities to do on camera. Let me know if there's any activities that you like to do with your decks or with cards on camera to just get more acquainted with them, with the tarot. Yeah, so that's all, man. That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.